Welcome back to Help My Workout. I'm Sherman Rozier, personalized fitness instructor, post-rehab specialist, flexibility therapist, and background in physical therapy. Today we're going to go over how to activate the core and why it's so important to activate the core when you're doing physical activities, especially when you're pushing heavy weights. So today we're going to go over how to activate the core, how to add in breath work, and even how to properly do a crunch at the end of our session. Welcome to Help My Workout. Today we're going to be talking about core activation and core strength. Like, what's the big deal about having a strong core, and why is everyone talking about doing it in their gym or doing Pilates and so forth? Many times people talk about core and do core in the gym, but many times they're not doing it correctly. Today we're going to talk about how to properly activate the core and show you how to properly do a crunch as well. So what is core itself? Core is what helps your body stabilize with movement. It's important to have a strong core because it helps you prevent injuries, helps you be even stronger. If you have a strong core, you can increase your overall strength up to 30%. So the core itself is made of what we call global stabilizers. So global stabilizers are your rectus abdominis muscle, your obliques. The rectus itself works as a primary function of trunk flexion. Secondarily, it's a core stabilizer. With your obliques, it's a hip rotation or trunk rotation and lateral flexion. Its secondary function is stabilization. So we call these global because its primary function is not to stabilize, it's a secondary function. Your primary stabilizing muscle is your transverse abdominis. It's very deep below the rectus and obliques, and it wraps from the interior part of your body around your low back. And also in your low back, we have these little muscles called multifidi that go up your spine. So the multifidi in the lower part of your spine with the transverse abdominis working together gives you true core activation. And I'm going to have one of my assistants help me today. We're going to talk about how to actually activate the core, talk about breath work, and going to showing the true way, demonstration-wise, to do a core and even how to properly do a crunch as well. So I'm going to bring in Brianna, personal trainer, my assistant. We're going to do a demonstration, show you how to activate the core and also do the proper breath work and also demonstrate the proper way of doing a crunch as well. Brianna, on your back for us, please. All right, so when we talk about core activation, the primary component of core activation is breath. So breath is one of the main components when it comes to being physically fit. Breath is the first thing that you have to work on to activate the core. Core itself helps you stabilize the spine, as I mentioned earlier. And why breathing is so important is because that transverse abdominis muscles that we talked about also is activated through exhalation. Okay? So its primary function is to help you exhale, but also stabilize the spine. So that's why we want to work on breathing also. So when we do this, we're going to work on breathing in through the nose. I'm going to breathe in through the nose. And as she breathes in through her nose, we want to see her stomach rise, kind of like a balloon. And then as she exhales, she's going to exhale out through her mouth. Okay? So we want to exhale out through the mouth because you're going to get a stronger engagement than exhaling out through your nose. Okay? Breathe in again. Stomach rises. Slow exhale. Good. And you want that exhale to be like you're blowing through a straw. So it's slow and long, like the pierced lip position. Go one more time, breathing in and breathing out. So as you breathe out, you want to feel your stomach shrink, contract, and you want to feel these muscles below the belly button kind of activating. Okay? So think of it this way. So you're laying on your back, you have on a pair of tight jeans, you're trying to get that zipper up. So you're going to exhale out to really flatten out your stomach to get that zipper to come up. And that's what you kind of want to do in this position when you're activating the core itself. So you want to feel the transverse muscle activate without the rectus muscle or the obliques activating. Okay? You don't want to feel all three activating together because you're not really isolating that transverse abdominis muscle. Okay? So a lot of times when people are thinking about core and activation, they do that global stabilization, and they think they're bracing themselves, and which can work, it's okay, but it's not true activation without that transverse muscle really working itself. So primarily you want to be able to activate that transverse muscle without getting these obliques and rectus activated at the same time. Okay? So once we achieve that, again, thinking about laying on your back, getting up a tight pair of jeans, getting that zipper up, hollowing out the stomach, exhaling out slow and long, getting that core engagement. Okay? So once we have that core engagement, that's when you have that true core stability. And then from there, you can start doing your movements or exercise. I recommend like practicing in this position first, like laying on your back or even standing up, just going through inhalation and exhalation, slow and long, to really feel those muscles activate in that region. From there, we're gonna work on having some movement with the core activation. Because again, the purpose of having the activation is being able to stabilize with movement, protecting your spine and your body with movement. We're gonna start with a very basic movement, just doing some arm raises, going up into flexion, alternating sides. So first what we're gonna do, we're gonna inhale through the nose, exhaling out through the mouth, slow and long. Feel that stomach flatten, core really constricts here, and then the arm's gonna come up. So this time we're gonna add in the arms. We're gonna inhale through the nose, exhaling through the mouth, arm raises, maintaining that exhale through the entire movement, okay? And inhaling at rest, and then exhaling on the opposite side. Good, very good. Another thing I forgot to mention is about when it comes to core activation is we want to maintain what we call a neutral spine. So like, what is a neutral spine? So it's the position that your spine is naturally in without going into compression or over flexing the trunk forward. We're going to go through we're going to go through some range of motion just to show you what that looks like when we go into an anterior pelvic tilt. You're going to tilt your pelvis forward, pushing the spine away from the table. That creates more of a gap in the low back. That's an anterior tilt. And then pushing your pelvis down to the mat. And that's a posterior tilt. A lot of times people do what we call imprinting, which is going into this posterior tilt. And that's okay initially to stabilize the spine if you have a hard time getting that core to activate. But in long term, you want to be able to stabilize what we call a neutral position, because you can't imprint when you're doing like a dynamic movement, like standing up or so. So that doesn't really relate to other positions outside of being on your back. So it's not the key thing to do when you want true core activation. So we're going to find that neutral position between flexion, the pelvic tilt forward, and then the posterior tilt back. We're going to go one more time forward, and then push back down, and then find a position that's comfortable in between those two movements. When you find that position, that's what we call your neutral position, and that's the position you want to stabilize your spine in. Okay, so we're going to go back to the breath work with the arm raises, with the flexion, and coming back down one more time. Inhaling, exhaling, stabilizing in that neutral position without imprinting. Very good. And sometimes it's hard to get this core to activate because that transverse muscle is just not used to being isolated. I've seen it where people have got it like within the first session, and there's been times where it's been 2 to 3 months till I hear clients say, "Oh, I really feel it now." So it does take a lot of practice. So you can practice that breath work no matter where you are, when you're at work, when you're in the kitchen, working the breath. Exhaling through the mouth, trying to get that core to activate, putting on those pure skinny jeans, hollowing out that stomach and getting that zipper up. So the more you practice, the more it's going to happen for you naturally. It doesn't happen right away, so don't be discouraged if you don't feel it right away. Okay, so we're going to talk about another key thing you can do to help you kind of get that core to activate. If you have like a pillow or a ball, which I'm going to grab a ball real quick. You can put like a little play ball between your knees, your thighs, and you can squeeze this ball as you exhale out to help you simulate what it really feels like to activate that core. So breathing into the nose, exhaling out through the mouth, engaging the ball, getting that core to activate. Good. Okay. So that's going to help you initially to get that core to activate, because you're going to get some adduction with the ball through the inner thigh, but also helps you kind of get that zipper or that Jane effect of pulling that zipper up as you squeeze as well. All right, we'll go one more time with that. Very good, awesome. You feel it? All right, great. So next we're going to talk about doing like some progressions. Like once you have it down where you're activating the core, you can truly feel it. We did the position where we're doing the arm movement. So we're going to do something a little bit more challenging than the arms. So we're going to go to the lower body. So what we're going to do is just a little tiny like step or march, bringing the foot off the floor about 6 inches, bringing it back down, maintaining that contraction through the core, and then alternating sides. Good, stabilizing as it drops back down, alternating sides. Good. The key here, you don't want any movement through the spine outside of the core engaging, and then just the legs coming up and coming back down. And we can make this slightly more challenging. We can take that leg out straight. Take your leg out straight. We're going to flex the foot towards you, activating the quad muscle. Exhaling, inhaling first, exhaling on the movement. Maintaining that contraction as you lower the leg, okay? This requires more work with the trunk to stabilize because the leg is lengthened, adding more resistance or weight to the movement. All right, we'll bring that leg back up. Okay. Also, like we want to get into doing more like mind-body connection with core activation, because the key is like to be able to stabilize doing whatever activity or movement that you're doing, that especially if it has resistance. So you want to be able to have that connection with activation and movement. So we're going to add in some additional movement by doing what we call a dead bug exercise. So it's going to be opposite arm and leg coming up while she's exhaling and stabilizing. Good. So opposite arm and leg, just to make sure that stomach hollows out. Belly button comes down towards the spine. That's better. Good. And you should be able to see her stomach kind of shrink down as she's exhaling out. A lot of times when you get people doing a whole global activation, they're getting, the stomach will actually protrude as they're bracing. We want the stomach to flatten hollow as you brace out, as you breathe out. Okay? Good? All right. I'm going to show you how to properly do a crunch with core activation. A lot of times when people are doing crunches or sit-ups, ideally we want to do crunches, not necessarily sit-ups. When we do a crunch, we want to make sure you're actually activating that transverse muscle through the movement, not just going through the movement without that true core activation. Many times you can do 20, 30, 40, 50 crunches without having that transverse activated. You're working your rectus muscle, but you're not getting that true engagement, so you can do a lot more reps. But if you really activate that transverse muscle, the deep core muscle, with the crunch, you're going to fatigue a lot faster because that muscle is working as well. Okay? We're going to show you how to do that. We're going to start off with arms across chest. So this is a starting position when doing a crunch. When you are doing a crunch, you want to make sure that your neck kind of maintains its neutral position, or if you want to just tuck the chin a little bit to lock in that position, it's fine as well. We're going to make sure we're activating through the pelvic floor first, activating that transverse muscle, so breathing in through the nose, exhaling out through the mouth, activating the muscle, and then coming up into the crunch as she's exhaling, maintaining that activation on the release, coming back down, okay? That's key. A lot of times people will activate coming up, but they'll just deactivate just to come back down. But you want to maintain that core activation on the eccentric part of the movement. Nice work. 3 more times. If you want to take that crunch to the next level for us, resistance-wise, you can take your hands behind your head. This adds more resistance because it takes the position from here to here, which puts more weight away from your core. Good, maintaining that neutral position in the core, also in the cervical spine, keeping the elbows back. One more time. Very good. And the next step from here, taking it to a higher level, would be putting the arms out straight. Engaging, control, coming back down. Nice work, one more time. And very good. Okay. Once you get to the point where you're really comfortable with activating that core, deep core transverse muscle, your breath work doesn't have to be as exaggerated. Okay. We're doing it really exaggerated right now just to demonstrate what you need to do. But through the course of the time, you don't have to be fully exaggerated for us, like the inhaling and exhaling at the degree that we're doing it. But you want to start off that way for sure. All right, thank you, Brianna, for your assistance today. You're a great student. Demonstration, we'll see you later. She's got to go take care of a client right now. So there's a demonstration of how to properly do a crunch itself, but also how you activate the core. Remember, when it comes to core activation, it's that deep transverse muscle that we want to activate, not just these global stabilizers. But we'll see you next time, and stay fit.